While exploring Skyrim, we can find a book titled The Legend of Red Eagle. I found this copy in the Jarl's quarters, inside Dragon's Reach. The book reads, "This tale was transcribed from the memory of Clarice Vienne, student of Winterhold. Elements of the legend suggest a date of First Era 1030, though as with any oral tradition, much of it is likely a later anachronism. Curiously, stories of a similar kin in his legendary blade appear in other ancient myths of the Reach. Long ago, a child was born in the Sundered Hills. They named him Faulan, which means Red Eagle, in the tongue of the Reach, for the screeching bird call that greeted his birth and the crimson blooms on the autumn hills. Thus began his legend, Reach Child, born under auspicious skies, his very name the color of blood. 10 kins ruled the Reach in those days, and though men were free, the people were scattered and warred amongst themselves. The augurs foresaw the boy's destiny, a warrior without peer, first and foremost Lord of the Reach, chosen to unite all under his name. Faulan grew in years and strength, and it seemed the prophecy would be fulfilled. The banner of the Red Eagle was raised along the cliffs of the Reach, and his people prospered. Then came Hestra, Empress of the South, riding to war. One by one the kin stood before her. One by one they fell aside, bending knee in imperial bargains or slaughtered on the battlefield. Her legions came at last to the Sundered Hills, and envoys were sent to bargain for their surrender. Faulan refused to yield the freedom of his people, but the elders were afraid, cast him out, and accepted the imperial yoke. Thus was stolen by the foreign invaders his land, his people, his very name. In the years that followed, Red Eagle became known as the untamed spirit of the Reach, unbowed, unbroken, stained by the blood of his foes. He gathered loyal Reachmen to himself, those who clung to the old ways, who yearned for freedom, and forged a new nation. Together they fell upon the occupiers and the traders by night, disappearing into the cliffs and caves each morn, evading capture. It was not enough. For every imperial patrol and garrison they wiped out, yet more seemed to march from the green south to replace them. One night, under a cloud-choked sky, the men of the Red Eagle warmed themselves over damp fires of smoldering moss. A huddled, shambling figure came to them, cloaked in rags, face cowled. Though his men mocked and cast stones at the stranger, Faulan sensed something and beckoned. The cowl was thrown back in the dim light, and she revealed herself to be one of the ancient and venerable hag ravens. She offered power for a price, and a pact was made. Thus was brokered to the witch his heart, his will, his humanity. From that day forth, his was a spirit of vengeance, pitiless and beyond remorse. The rebels grew in strength and numbers, and none could stand against them. Faulan's eyes burned coldly in those days, black opals reflecting a mind not entirely his own. 2 years passed, and the foreigners were all but driven from the Reach. Such peace could not last, however, and a great host fell upon them, a swift army of invaders unlike any before. For a fortnight, Hestra's generals laid siege to Red Eagle's stronghold, till he himself came forth for battle, alone and robed in nothing but his righteous fury. 1,000 foreigners fell before his flaming sword, and the enemy was routed. Yet when night fell, so too did he. The warriors who came to him said Faulan's eyes were clear again in that final night. He was taken to the place prepared for him, a tomb hidden deep within the rock. With his remaining strength he presented his sword to his people and swore an oath. Fight on, and when at last the Reach is free, his blade should be returned, that he might rise and lead them again. Thus was given for his people, his life, his dream, his sword. But when every debt is repaid in blood, these he shall reclaim once more. And with that, we get a new miscellaneous quest to find Red Eagle's sword. Our map marker brings us northeast of Reachwater Rock. As we arrive, we discover Red Eagle Redoubt, and then we get attacked by Forsworn. After finishing these guys off, we can head inside in search of Red Eagle's sword. As we make our way through the cave, we fight through more Forsworn.
I think you're bleeding. Come and face the fortune.
At the end of the cave, we find a door leading back outside to Red Eagle's redoubt. After exiting the cave, we can fight our way up some steps. And at the top of the steps, we find a forsworn Briarheart. After defeating the Briarheart, we can loot his body and find Red Eagle's Fury, along with Red Eagle's tower key. We can now open the locked door, and inside we find another copy of The Legend of Red Eagle. Now we can proceed up the tower and pull a lever to get across a bridge. Then we can exit the second tower and head back out to our final location. A short walk away, we discover Rebel's Cairn. When we enter Rebel's Cairn, we find an empty room with a weapon slot in the middle of it. We can now equip Red Eagle's Fury and place it in the slot to open up a secret passage. This passage leads us to a big open room where we come face to face with Red Eagle. Once we defeat Red Eagle, all his skeleton archers collapse. We can loot his body to take his flaming sword and some gold. At the back of the room, we find a big chest with some more gold, a soul gem, and a Welkin stone. Now before we leave Rebel's Cairn, we can grab Red Eagle's sword from the weapon slot, closing the place for good. The weapon is now called Red Eagle's Bane and is stronger than it was before. With that, we've defeated the legendary Red Eagle and got a nice new sword to show for it. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching.